of 2nd Ezra chapter 9 verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure. It says, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, it said, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spoke of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. We are looking at the end of a kingdom, and these nations that are ruling right now, their biblical name, they are the Edomite, and they come out of what? Esau. Esau's name was changed to Edom. The Edomites are ruling right now, and they are the one Yahawashi is coming to visit in Isaiah 63. Again, it says, 2nd Ezra 9, verse 4, like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning. Esau had a beginning and an end. Their beginning, their kingdom started with Alexander the Great. That's right. And it's the Lord is about to end their kingdom. Esau is the beginning of the world, and Jacob is the next to follow. I'm going to get that. I don't want to butcher it. For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. And when you go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 9, it tells you this. It says, Esau, the self-proclaimed white man, is the end of the world. Yet there is an age, a period of time. And Jacob, that's right, Jacob, the other twin brother, that's right, the Israelite, yes, is the beginning of it that followeth. That's why we are excited that we are about to be released from prison. Our kingdom under our King, our Redeemer Yahawashi, is next. And you're going to hear a quick update from our friend here, Canadian Prepper. And I have another article to share with you, and that will be the lesson. But before we do that, let's give honor and glory to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. I could barely sleep tonight. Tossing and turning, tossing and turning. You can see the time is 4:34. And anyway, regardless, I want to give honor and glory to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Let's go to, let's give double honors to our head apostles, the elders, the bishops, out of the great millstone that taught us this truth. And salutation, peace to the tabernacle of David, 144,000. And the men you see on the highways and the byways making their body a living sacrifice unto our King, our Redeemer Yahawashi. Like I always say, this is the least we can do for Yahawashi, for what he has done for us. This is the least. It is a privilege to do this work here, a privilege to do this work here. And again, double honors to the head apostles, the bishops, the elders that the Lord has raised up to teach us, because we are coming into another man's labor. We didn't wake up with this knowledge. We learned from our apostles, our leaders, our elders, the bishops. Again, double honors to them. And let's give salutation, peace to my fellow laborers out there on the highways and the byways, making their body a living sacrifice unto the sheep, and the large multitude, men, women, children, whom our King, our Redeemer Yahawashi is going to have mercy upon. I pray that this message find all of you in perfect peace. Again, the Lord says, well, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay, now let's get right into it. Let's go.
This is your World War III update. Here's what's going on. They've done a complete 180, and the mask is now completely off. I got some really bad news and some good news. The good news is that you're going to be getting the following information first before anybody else does. The bad news is that it's probably not going to make a lick of difference, and the outcome is going to remain the same. Nonetheless, it will give you more motivation to prepare for what's about to happen. I warned you months ago that the current administration, the trajectory of their foreign policy, would not differ one iota from the previous one. In fact, we were going to see an acceleration. In the current administration's attempts to distinguish itself from the previous, they engaged in this phony baloney diplomacy in an attempt to set up the opposing side, be they Iran or Russia, as an even greater pariah when those talks eventually failed, as they currently are right now. Let me run through the incredible sequence of events that we've seen over the last 7 days that absolutely nobody is connecting the dots to, okay? Never mind the fact that against the backdrop of all of this, we have an escalating trade war with China. We have the ports in LA that are becoming more vacant by the day. And remember, this all pertains to the enmity between China and the United States. Let's walk it back. There was a massive port explosion at Iran's biggest port that now one of the top Israeli generals is claiming was an act of sabotage. It was not an accident. That's from an Israeli general. Now, that doesn't mean they're taking credit for it directly, but what that does mean, and what we do know, is that there are certainly dissident elements within Iran who are engaged in these hostile acts. We've seen that play out over the past year. This is no exception. We have a port explosion. Suddenly, an F-18 just falls off an aircraft carrier, right? You know, because the evasive and the hard turn of an aircraft carrier has enough inertia to throw off some of the planes. Just one, though, right? Now, let's take that at face value. Okay, what happens next? Well, we have the Israeli fires, which appear to be acts of arson because they emerged on multiple fronts. Now, if they're in a drought, if the conditions are ripe, then that's the only way wildfires are going to typically ever burn. The conditions have to be there beforehand. But of course, you could have had perhaps a naturally occurring fire, and this gave opportunistic arsonists who wanted an easy win to potentially be able to go in there, or perhaps it was even, elements, saboteurs from Hezbollah or Lebanon, Palestine, who knows who it was. Regardless, that's a sequence of events. Port explosion, F-18 falls into the ocean on the same day. We have Israeli fires. Now we have negotiations delayed. Then we have Pete Hegseth issuing what really ultimately, when you really understand the subtext, amounts to a nuclear threat against Iran, seemingly out of the blue, right? And then we also have Trump issuing secondary sanctions. All the while, we are being told that these negotiations are going great. The negotiations that have now been delayed. And let's recall that the original letter that was sent by Donald Trump to the Ayatollah with a 2-month deadline, I think initially it was even sooner than that. I think it was 1 month, but they extended it to 2 months. That was issued on March 7th. So that brings us to May 7th as a potential date, or at least between now and the near-term future, we are going to see an inflection in hostilities in this theater. So now today we have the sacking of Mike Waltz. Why is that important? Well, I think they needed some sacrificial lamb. Trump knows what's about to happen in the Middle East and the escalation of hostilities in Russia. Not only does this position Waltz, who's now been given the role of UN ambassador, which of course he's going to be able to speak on behalf of the current administration to the UN when the United States inevitably enters into war with the Iranians and when hostilities start to intensify on the Ukrainian front, which they absolutely are going to. This is what you need to understand. If people haven't realized this by now, I don't think people they just have their blinders on because of the political hocus pocus. But I would strongly encourage you to just try to see things for how they are unfolding right now. Within the span of a week, we went to negotiations are going great with Iran, to one of the biggest explosions in that country's history, not in terms of warfare, but in terms of asymmetrical warfare. The loss of a plane, possibly 2 planes, into the ocean, Israeli fires, arson attacks, destabilization in Syria that I forgot to mention with the Druze, and it looks like Israel's about to make a move there, and all of these other moves, and now Trump imposing secondary sanctions. Now, what this means is that in line with what Brian Berletic, our guest yesterday, I would strongly encourage you to go and watch that video because he lays out exactly what is happening right now. The United States is creating the illusion of being a good faith broker of peace so that when the hammer finally drops, the Iranians are going to seem like a uncooperative pariah, an even bigger pariah than they're currently viewed by much of Trump's voting base right now. Okay, and not all. I understand that many people who voted for Trump don't want a war in Iran. I'm not trying to make a generalization here. But he does still have the political capital, but he has to walk that fine line. That's why you sack Waltz, right? So it looks as though, hey, I got rid of this guy. And of course, somebody had to be the fall guy for all the fallout from the Signal chat leaks. And they can't get rid of Hegseth because they need Hegseth to rally up all the young men who they're going to need to conscript in the future, okay? Because the war is coming. Now, here's what Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said yesterday. We see your lethal support to the Houthis. We know exactly what you're doing. And remember, this was a day after that plane supposedly fell off a ship. The Houthis claim they shot it down. And there's a possibility that that is true. It is not beyond their capabilities. If they can shoot down the drones operating at 50,000 feet, there is a possibility that maybe they got a plane or maybe they were able to target the aircraft carrier itself. Who knows? Or it was just an evasive maneuver. Either way, this really pissed off Pete Hegseth, okay? And he made it known. You know very well what the U.S. military is capable of. Well, apparently they're not capable of at least quickly defeating the Houthis because they're still fighting them with their best military equipment, including a third of their B-2 stealth bombers. And you were warned. Now, he does say you will pay the consequence at the time and place of our choosing. So he's saying this is not a if-then statement. This is a you did something and we are going to respond at the time and place of our choosing. Now, that's incredibly escalatory language, and I don't believe that he's referring to the sanctions that were imposed today that were actually directed at China by Trump. I'm going to show you his tweet in just a moment. Please stick with me, guys, because this is very, very important. All of the dots are getting connected today. Now, when he says this, this is a tacit nuclear threat because we know that if they can't defeat the Houthis utilizing conventional weaponry and doing these standoff strikes, how are they what possibly could they do to the Iranians? Could they do some decapitation strike from the inside? Do they have sleeper cells throughout Iran? They being the CIA and the Mossad? Probably. And that would be an incredibly destabilizing force. Now, how Iran responds is another story. The Iranians are actually playing this surprisingly smart. And I don't have the act.
You know how the Iranian are go 444. That's the spirit. Brakata Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. You know, we know how the Iranian are going. We know how they're going to respond according to 2nd Ezra. Let me get that quickly. According to 2nd Ezra chapter 15, it said they're going to come like what? Wild boars of the desert. And that's right. We know America. This is it. The moment this war with Iran starts, that's the end of America. Again, let me repeat that through the spirit and power of our King, our Redeemer, Yahawashi. If as soon as this war starts with Iran, that is the end of your empire, the end of your world. That's right. Because this year, everything that is happening, it is written in what? In the Word. It's written in the Bible. Here we have 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Please forgive me, my voice is not the greatest this morning. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 28. It said, behold, an horrible vision. The Lord said, a horrible vision. Not just any vision, it says it's horrible to look at, and the appearance thereof from the east, right? Because all these nations, the global south, the Lord, that's right. That's right. When it talks to Joel chapter 2, verse 20, it talks about what? A land barren and desolate. That's what Saudi Arabia. And it says, behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. Now listen to verse 29. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia, not just one dragon, the entire region uniting. That's right. This is not going to go the way America think is going to go. That's right. Because the Lord is about to show his power. The empire have no clothes on. That's right. It's naked. It says, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out. You hear that? They're going to come out with many chariots, drones, their tanks, their airplanes. These are all chariots. And the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth. You hear that? That all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Because nobody expecting the area, the Arabians, from Turkey, Syria, Iraq, all these nations, Yemen, Hezbollah, Hamas, all these nations uniting right now to what? To destroy America and the West. Russia is going to be a guard unto all those nations. And there will be other nations that are going to join in. Because everybody's realizing that the cancer of the world is America. Also the Chamanians. Yeah? It says here, also the Chamanians, which is talking about what? The Iranians. In Ezekiel chapter 38, the Lord calls them Persia. And Persia is the first nation mentioned that Russia is going to protect. Also the Chamanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And with great power shall they come and join battle with them. With who? The dragons of Arabia. And shall waste a portion of the land of Assyria. That's America. American military bases across the Levant, aka Middle East, family, is going to be destroyed. Family, this is it. The elite think after the World War III, they are already hiding in their bunkers. They're going to rise up and come and build back better. Like the phoenix, that mythical bird. Yeah, that's what it is, mythical. It's not real. This is the end. And then it goes on. It's a whole beautiful chapter, but we're not going to read through all it. But Iran is not going to lose. Russia is not going to lose. When Yahawashi comes, that's when Yahawashi is going to destroy all the militaries. They're going to start this war like our King Yahawashi said this. It says here, because I'll go to Isaiah 13 later. But let's go here. Let's read this in the NLT. Yahawashi said this in the book of Luke. Okay? Luke chapter 12, one of my favorite verse. The Lord says this in the book of, let's do this. Luke 12:49. Here what is, let's highlight it so you know that it's Yahawashi that is speaking. You see red letters? That means the king is speaking. Luke 12:49. It says here, I am come to send fire on the earth. You see, that's what Yahawashi is bringing. And what will I, if it be already kindled? I want to read this in the NLT. Yahawah willing. It says, I have come to set the world on fire. That's what we are telling you. That's what Yahawashi is coming to do. Those pork chop eating pastors in those churches, your TD Jakes, your Osteen, and your Crefto Dollars. No, they're now telling you that Yahawashi is coming to set the world on fire. They said he's coming with flowers and candies, chocolate. Everybody's going to have some chocolate in their hands and they'll be eating and they'll be flowing up in the air. That's what they're telling you. But we telling you the world is about to, it says in Isaiah 24, it said the earth is going to rock to and fro like a drunkard. That's what the Lord is bringing. That's what the Yahawashi is bringing chaos. World War III. So he says here, I have come to set the world on fire, and I wish it were already burning. And the world is going to be burning when Yahawashi shows up. That's when all these nations are going to put their differences aside and fight our King, our Redeemer Yahawashi. That's 2 Ezra chapter 13. And when Ezra saw what Yahawashi did, because the Lord gave him the vision. As when Ezra saw what Yahawashi did to all these militaries all over the world, and because this is what is coming. Isaiah 13, we're going to get that. The Lord, it says what? It says nothing was to be perceived but smoke, the smell of smoke and dust. So the Yahawashi came and cremated all these militaries. The Lord cremated them. It's going to be the biggest cremation in the history of mankind. And that's what the Lord is bringing. The earthquakes is going to swallow people. There are going to be dead bodies everywhere. That is what Yahawashi is bringing. The Yahawashi and the angel. That's where everything is leading to. This, Nate mentioned a bit of this in his update. But I want to bring this article. It was updated at 2:10. But let's read on. You see the headline? It says what? Friday, U.S. imposes full-scale secondary sanctions upon Iran oil. What does that mean? Let's read it. The United States has suddenly imposed full-scale secondary sanctions upon Iran oil sales. What this means is that the U.S. tells every other nation in the world that if they buy any oil from Iran, then their entire country cannot do any business at all with the United States. You hear that? Now you know why the hammer of the whole earth is who? America. Now you know why the nations are mad. Now you know why when America fell, family, the nation didn't feel sorry for America. America, this is what these devils are doing. He's saying that anybody that do business with Iran, because that's how the Iranian people survive on what with their oil, the resources to power the country. So America is now putting secondary sanctions, saying that nobody can buy your oil. That's when you know. The Bible says what? When the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. But when the righteous are in authority, the people will rejoice. Nobody have to tell you that the self-proclaimed white man is the cancer of the world, and Yahawashi is coming to remove him. That's right. Yahawashi and the angels are coming to remove this devil once and for all. That's right. It says what this means is that the U.S. tells every other nation in the world that if they buy any oil from Iran, then their entire country cannot do any business at all with the United States. This is the kind of economic activity that directly causes a shooting war. The entire country of Iran survives on oil sales. Now, no one else in the world can buy their oil for fear of losing access to the U.S. market. This is a death stranglehold by the U.S. upon Iran's entire economy. This is the tweet from Donald Trump. That's right. The cruel nation, right? Oh, family, it gets bad. It says here, alert. This is what he put out. This is from Trump. All purchases of Iranian oil or petrochemical product must stop now. Any country or person who buys any amount of oil or petrochemicals from Iran will be subject to immediately secondary sanctions. They will not be allowed to do business with the United States of America in any way, shape, or form. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. Updated at 2:10. Let's read this. On Friday morning, it said, just found out the real target is China. China is the largest buyer of Iran oil, so it is China that is propping up Iran economically. By issuing secondary sanctions, Trump is making it impossible for China to do any business with the United States. Some people have speculated that Trump expected China to come to negotiation to negotiate over tariffs, and the claim is that China didn't even call. I am not certain that's true because Chinese delegations were seen entering the U.S. Treasury Department last week. They were photographed by someone outside, and the Chinese demanded the photos be deleted. They were not. There were several references by President Trump to China and the U.S. talking, which were all directly denied by China. Now I am learning that China has not negotiated and not even called the U.S. about the tariffs, but I cannot verify those claims. So these secondary sanctions issued by the U.S. against Iran seem to be trying to compel China to come to the negotiation table with the U.S. under threat of not doing any commerce with the U.S., but this will backfire. About 80% of pharmaceuticals in U.S. drugstores are either made in China or made in India by source from China. But the U.S. is if the U.S. were to cut off all commerce with China over Iran oil, then those medicines will not be shipped to the U.S. if they haven't stopped already. Chaos is coming upon the land. We're telling you. People can have their drugs. You see how how psycho these people are, Americans and their drugs. All these people walking around like zombie family, everybody's drugged up because to live in America, you definitely need drugs to live in America, particularly this time. Yeah, can you imagine these people not having their drugs? Pharmaceutical, now family, it is going to get worse because why? We are at the end. The Lord is about to show his power. It said, can you imagine the level of trouble it will cause the U.S. if 80% of its prescription medication stopped coming into the country? Not only would a whole slew of people die, the people who take psych meds might all start flipping out from suddenly being cut off from them. It could be chaos. This is what we are looking at. This is what we are looking at. And we thank the Lord Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Or this war. This World War III. This is the end of an empire. Listen to what Medvedev said, and then we're going to get an article, and we're going to get it, and this is the last article. And then we're going to bring out a precept, and we're going to wrap this up. Trump blunder on China tariffs. Medvedev, everybody can see it. Family, the empire have no clothes on. Don't let this boisterous, this big talk, loud mouth, and tell you that no. That's why the men of the Lord, starting with our head apostles, we're telling you this is the time to seek ye the Lord. This is no joke. This is serious. This is no joke, man. This is the time to repent. It's the time to repent. I speak for myself first, always. I always speak for myself first. This is the time to repent and seek the Lord. Walk circumspectly, giving honor and glory, reverencing the Lord around the clock. That's why we need help. We need a savior. We need salvation. We need mercy. Okay? We are at the end and things are going to get worse from here. Things are going to get worse. It said the ex-Russian president has said Beijing has the means to survive U.S. pressure. Why is he saying that? Because they've been planning. Russia and China are constantly talking because they saw what America and the West did to Russia. How Russia managed to survive all the sanctions that they placed on Russia. And that made China and Russia became very close because they knew China was next. Listen to what Medvedev said. U.S. President Donald Trump's misplaced tariff policies. It says what? Misplaced. Okay? Misplaced. Let's look up that word misplaced. incorrectly positioned, temporary loss, misguided. That's right. That's what he's telling you. Telling you that, yeah, there's another way to tell you that your president is dumb. He doesn't think. He doesn't read. He just open his mouth and start talking crap. That's right. That's Trump. It's the Lord that is doing it. The Lord said there's no more wisdom in teaming. It's over. And we say, Tawada Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, and the whole world is seeing it. People say, no, we can't do business with this man here. Eh? It says this. U.S. President Donald Trump misplaced tariff policies are hurting America's allies but will fail to tank the Chinese economy. Former Russia President Dmitry Medvedev said on Thursday. And like I said, if something happened to Putin, this guy is next. Oh, he's more hawkish than Putin. Medvedev, oh, he's hawkish. If it was up to him, they would have already nuked America. Okay? And this is the guy that's going to replace Putin. It says, in early April, Trump announced sweeping tariffs on most of America's trading partners, citing what he called an unfair trade imbalance. After backlash overseas and a negative response from the stock market, he suspended most new tariffs for dozens of countries except China for 90 days pending negotiation. Excuse me, in a tongue-in-cheek post on Telegram on Labor Day, which was yesterday, Medvedev, who served as the deputy chairman of Russian Security Council, argued that Trump deserves an exemplary labor award for starting the tariff battle. America's neighbors and its allies in Europe are suffering and crying from the tariff. The former president wrote, they are all in a really bad position, facing the need to bow down in a ritual known as kiss my ass. That's what Trump says. They are making fun of America. At one point, America was the most powerful nation in the world. Because why? The Lord built up America. And the same Lord that built up America, the same Lord is bringing America to the ground. It says, like all that has a beginning and an end, the end is manifest. America has a beginning, right? And an end. And you are looking at the end of America. That's why America have become what? A gazing stock. America's neighbors and its allies, no, sorry, I read that already. Let's say we're almost done. China, on the other hand, possesses enormous resources and a vast domestic market, factors that will enable its economy to withstand any amount of pressure. This is where Trump made a blunder, he said. Trump's approval ratings have dipped, that is true. While the deep state is vigorously resisting him, Beijing responded to tariff of up to 245% on its goods by imposing tit-for-tat tariffs on American imports. Bowing to a bully is like drinking poison to quench thirst. Isn't that the truth? Bowing to a bully, that's a quote from Medvedev, bowing to a bully is like drinking poison to quench thirst. That's right. You're going to die by drinking that poison. So you might as well face the bully yourself, right? Right? It only deepens the crisis. The Chinese Foreign Ministry says this week, warning that China won't kneel down. That's right. They are very proud people. They're very proud people. Because what? Is it J.D. Vance that called the Chinese peasant? And you saw how they responded. Trump has defended its policies, doubling down on his claims that Beijing engages in unfair trade practice. They deserve it, he said, responding to reporters' question on whether his tariffs are tantamount to an embargo. Yeah, but this recent move by putting secondary sanctions on Iran, saying that China cannot buy Iran's oil, we see how that works out for America. Family, we are looking at the end of America. Let's finish here. Prophecy about Babylon. You hear that? America's judgment is written all over the Bible. But the Lord gave the mystery. The Lord opened the eyes of his servants so that we can see it and prophesy. And that was done by what? Our King, our Redeemer, Yahawashi, by sending the Holy Spirit down to guide us. We thank the Lord, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, for that. That's why we're telling you. Don't let nobody tell you that Babylon is the Vatican and America is not going to be destroyed. No, we are telling you in advance through the spirit and power of our King, our Redeemer Yahawashi. So when it come to pass, you're going to reverence our power. Oh, the whole nation is about to bow. They are about to bow to the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. And we speak, we say that boldly. Everybody's going to acknowledge our power. They're going to know that whatever God they worship, they are nothing but idol. It tells you in the book of Psalm 96. That's right. We worship the true power. The power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. And everybody's about to find out. The burden of Babylon. Burden means what? Weight. A heavy weight. Stuff that you can't deal with. You have what domestic your economy is crashing, your bridges are falling apart, your people are rising up against you. That's why people are being laid off, people are living in their cars. They're realizing that the government is not working for them. Now you're gonna put a microchip in them. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of what? The noble. That's why they call us what? The prophets of doom. They've heard our message. But you think these people are actually going to take it serious? No, because they are very proud. They never see America falling. They never see that this kingdom is going to come to an end. The white man never thinks that one day, he thinks he's going to rule forever. But that's the pride. Because if they claim that they are so smart, and the average, the America, the white people, the white men, they have the highest IQ. All you have to do is just go to the book of Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel 7. It's right in front of you. No kingdom was set up to rule forever. The Lord set up all this kingdom. Our power, the power of Abraham, set up all this kingdom, and he gave everybody an opportunity to rule. And then when the time comes, he remove you and set up another. That's Psalm 75. He tells you. Daniel 4:17, it tells you he ruleth in the kingdom of men. Wisdom of Solomon, it tells you this is his kingdom. This is the king. The Lord set up all these leaders. From your Putin to Xi Jinping to your Modis to Trump, the Lord set everybody up. It's a movie. We are living in a movie. This thing that we call, this is not life. We haven't lived yet. It's a movie that is playing out right in front of you, and everybody's playing their role in this movie. And when we start, that's why when Yahawashi is on the throne, the king of, what's it called? When he set up his kingdom, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7, that's when we're going to live. We haven't lived yet. And we're not going to live in these bodies. Our bodies are going to be changed. Yahawah willing. It says, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. Talking about the prophets, getting the word out, gathering all these nations. Angels are going to be playing on the mind of these kings, gathering everybody for what? Let's go on. It says here, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms. Hear that? A tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord Yahawah of hosts mustered the hosts of the battle. You hear what the Lord is saying? I am the one bringing all these nations together. He's the one gathering all of them to the what? To the Levant, aka Middle East. This war is going to be popping off everywhere. But the major war is the war between America and Iran and Russia. Russia is not going to sit back and watch America destroy Iran. You're sadly mistaken. If anybody tell you that Russia is going to sit back and watch America and the West destroy Iran, run away from them. They are not. They are false prophets. And if anybody they tell you that America is going to be made great again, run away from them. They are false prophets. The men of the Lord, the true men, the prophets are telling you it's over. The American dream, that's exactly what it was. It was a dream. It wasn't a reality. You go to bed, sometimes I'll be having a nice dream, family. I get up in the morning, boom, it's gone. I don't remember anything of it. I don't remember. That's America. That's a dream. When you go to bed, family, America, that's why when you experience the life of America wasn't set up for it to be here forever. No, it was a period of time. Bring both kingdoms down here, punish them, and then be delivered. Be delivered. We say Tawada Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. It says here, they come from a far country, from the end of the heaven. You hear that? Everybody coming to the Levant, even the Lord Yahawah and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. America is going to be destroyed and Israel is going to be leveled. Right now, it's on fire already. That's right. That place is burning. There's nothing has happened yet. Like I said, this is a 7-course meal. 7 means completion. People are just walking into the hall right now in their garment. Yeah, everybody's talking the nice soft music in the background. They haven't started serving the meal yet. Oh yeah, because 7-course meal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what is coming. It's going to be worse. This is the beginning stages of it. People are parking. You have the, what is it called? The valet out there. Can I park your car for you? Yeah, that's right. Grab your car and now you walk into the hall. Yeah, nothing has started yet. You're just walking into the hall. Yahawashi. It says here, it's a howl, yea, for the day of the Lord Yahawah is at hand. Yeah, that it's a howl, it's a scream, cry. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Destruction from the Almighty. Do you think you're going to get this in the church? No, they don't go into the prophetic books because they are not the prophet. They tell you some story about Mary and Joseph and this is bullshit. No, the true prophets are going to be what? Focusing on prophecy. Because the testimony of our King, our Redeemer, Yahawashi is the spirit of prophecy. It's not the spirit of prosperity gospel, where they're telling you that invest in here, let's buy land and build communities. No, the prophets are going to tell you to run away from that nonsense. It said, therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. That's what is coming. Luke 21 tells us, men's heart failing them for what is coming upon the earth. Verse 8, it says, and they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. That's what is coming. Stress or depression. When medications are not coming in. And people are walking around like zombies. Chaos is coming. People haven't taken their med for 2-3 days. Chaos is coming. People are on this psychotic medication that they have to be taking medication around the clock. Can you imagine what is going to happen when they don't have their meds? It said, for the stars of heaven and the constellation therefore shall not give their light, because what? The day of the Lord, Zephaniah tells us, is going to be a day of darkness, a day of gloominess. That's right. There ain't going to be no light on that day. It said, the sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. It's not going to be a good day, man. It's not going to be a good day. Picture that. Darkness everywhere. Because when Yahawashi shows up, you have to see those ships. That's going to get the glory. When those ships shows up, you want to pray that you are part of the hopeful elect. It says, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud, Esau, Edom, to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible, Esau, Edom, thinking his house is gonna continue forever. Have you lost your friggin' mind? You want this wickedness to continue forever? You don't like human, AI, robot, all this, that. You want to block the sun. This devil thinking about blocking the sun. Are you see? That's the pride. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, not any ordinary man. No, talking about the man of the Lord. Because the Lord's light is going to be shining on the man of the Lord. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore will I shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place. What's going to cause that? Earthquakes, tsunamis. Islands are going to be swallowed up. This is what is coming upon this earth. It said, let me repeat that again. Isaiah 13:13. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place. In the wrath of the Lord Yahawah of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chase roll, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people and flee, everyone into his own land. That's already happening. People are leaving America. Says, no, let me just go back to my country and suffer. Because the way I'm seeing things here in America, and it's not going to end well. People are on edge right now. People are on the edge, family. Can you imagine when this medication stop coming through? It says here, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. America, that's your future. If you're on the soil of America and you are not part of the elect, you're going to be fuel for the fire. And that's what we're telling you. If you are not an American, if you have another country, you better go there. But if you're not part of the elect, you're going to be what? Fuel for the fire. America is going to be what? Turned into the lake of fire. It's from the east to the west coast, north to the south. Nothing is going to be remain. It tells you in the book of Second Peter chapter, I think I said Second Peter, right? Second Peter 3:10. That's right. The elements shall melt with fervent heat, and all the works thereof. Nothing is going to remain. It said, their children also, it said, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. It said that their children also shall be dashed to pieces. Are you listening to this? Before their eyes, their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. Women are going to be what? RAPE. ED. You can add, that's right. The women are going to be what? That's right. Rake, if you know what I mean. Behold, I will stir up the meat against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. That's right. The Lord's going to stir who? The Russians against who? America. Because why? They're not going to sit back and watch Iran destroy. This is the opportunity. That's right. Amano. Two heavyweight champions about to clash. It said their bows, talking about their missiles, also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. Are you not paying attention to what the Lord is saying? It goes to show the Lord is not respect of person. He doesn't care whether it's a kid, a baby. Oh, 6 months old. I just had a 6-month-old baby. The Lord don't care. The Lord don't care. Because those missiles have no feeling. When the Lord sends those missiles there, because the Lord's Spirit is going to be in those missiles. A pregnant woman walking with her 4 or 5 kids around the street. No, the Lord don't care. He wipe everybody off. Judgment is coming. And Babylon, it says Babylon, the glory of the kingdom, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah, that's America. And that place is why it's still ashes, right? That's right. Sulfur is covered with what? Sulfur. That's what is coming to America. The loss is going to be just like Sodom and Gomorrah. It says it shall never be inhabited. Are you listening to this? Nobody's going to be living on the soil of America. Neither shall it be dwell in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there. Neither shall the shepherd make their fold there. No more stupid convenience store selling you all type of abominable food. All these nations, little India, little China, little Bangladesh, Korea, little Korea, all these stupid stores that they open across America and the West. No, it's going to be over with. It said, but wild beasts of the desert, this is the future of America. It's a wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be what? Shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. Yeah, like Trump Mar-a-Lago in Florida, all these fancy mansions across Florida. That's right. The Lord says wild beasts are going to move in. That's why hyenas are going to have babies there. The foxes, they're going to occupy the White House. That's right. The animals are going to occupy all your palaces. It says here, and the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant, dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. So, beloved, things are not looking good. Secondary sanctions on Iran, saying that China can deal with Iran. No, family, we are. World War III is at the door. And with that, we say Tawada, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Shalom to the Lord's elect.